Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yisra Ya'el. Yehonatan Dawit will be here humbly so on what they call, well, you know what the day is, 9/11. They ain't gonna let you forget that today. Y'all with your Christians, we always try and teach you new brews some stuff. Y'all know about that Take 6. And my man Chris is going to give you an older rendition of that on the outro. So, Peeshtan Tsadique. Peeshtan Tsadique. This is righteous flax. We're going to learn something about the righteousness of flax today and the importance of that and why flax and how it relates to this whole series we've been talking about the last 3 weeks. We got Trump is coming up in 2 weeks, and this all relates. Righteous flax. Now, the thing about covering, I said last week, and I'll repeat it, it's about the importance of covering. And it's because of unrighteousness. It's because of sin, and it's because of what we have inside our bodies that we cannot see on the outside. For example, you can have the most perfect body. Whichever you consider, boobs is bouncing just right, perfect abs, tight, taut butt, whatever you have, whatever you think, the perfect height and weight, whatever you think in your mind is the most perfect body. You take that body and you're going to go to work butt naked with your perfect body. You're not going to do that. You go, now we're talking about the perfect, beautiful body. You going to church, going through the pew, as you're going through the aisles. You go to the ball game, going up down the stands. Excuse me, get through, moving through. Perfect body now. You're not going to the mall. You're not going shopping. You ain't going to the business. You ain't going to the to work. You're not doing that, even with the most beautiful, perfect body. And why is that? Because we're unrighteous. Because it's not about the looks of the body. It's what's inside of the body that causes it righteous. Because animals are not ashamed by what they look. They go out and walk around, run around. Animals do not have to cover up. Why not? Because animals have not sinned. Man sinned. Man sinned. So it is filthy and unrighteous to just walk out like you haven't done nothing. We have offended Yahweh. We are to be ashamed. We are eternally shamed unless we accept the covering of Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. Animals who have not sinned are not shamed. They born out the womb like they are and go through their entire life uncovered, unless you got one of those people want to cover their pets up. Put little cutie clothes on their pets. You cover your pet bull up. I'm glad I didn't say nothing bad about it, because Chris said he was going, oh no, you leave that dog alone. Let him swing and hang. And do whatever you got to do. You don't got no club. Okay. Because the dog, and what do? We subjected ourselves to animals. Adam and Mother Hawa subjected themselves to a beast in their home. The serpent comes into their house, get on their tree, and they listen to him. So now you wonder why we had to go ahead and now to be redeemed back to Yahweh through animals. So now you had to have an animal to bridge the gap between you and Yahweh. His blood had to be shed for you. So 2 animals had to die to cover up our unrighteousness. Yahweh had to kill 2 animals who did nothing wrong. First of all, subjected them all to dumbness, so now no animals were allowed to speak. And covered Mother Adam and Mother Hawa up with animal skins. 2 perfect creatures that he made. So now, then we had to go through the entire covenant of killing animals to bridge us back to Yahweh. Something that's beneath us. Something that's beneath us. You don't go and get a dog and he sleeps in the bed and you sleep on the floor. Because the dog is subjected to you. But we have subjected ourselves to animals that we need to put on clothes. Now, dog walk on the street, don't run around like nothing, because he's fine. He never sinned. You have the Yahweh's image have sinned. And needing to have innocent blood shed for you. So now comes Yahweh Shua. And he shed his blood. He was innocent. And it was proven after his third-day resurrection that he indeed was innocent. So he overcame death, Hades, and the grave. And now we're going to talk about this thing, this symbolism of covering, Peeshtan Tsadique, righteous covering, and why flax. So to get us back up to speed here, we know that in Genesis 4:9, Cain had the audacity to ask Yahweh, "Hey, where's Abel? Well, how am I supposed to know? Am I my brother's keeper?" Did Yahweh answer him? Yeah, I think he got his answer and it was time for him to die. But we know what the answer is, because the answer happens in Matthew 25:31-46, when we got the sheep on the right and goats on the left. Because the litmus test for whether you going into the kingdom or whether you going to the hot spot was how you treated your brother. Yahweh Shua did not tell any sheep to get on to the right that was circumcised. He didn't tell any sheep to get on to the right who kept the feast days. And we do keep the feast days. We're going to talk about that. He didn't say everybody kept the Sabbath, get on the right. Everybody don't eat pork chops. If you eat pork chops, go on the left. If you eat scrimps and crabs, go on the left. He didn't say that. He said if you didn't treat me right, go to the left. If you treated me right, you go to the right. That's what he said. That comes from Yahshua's mouth. And you say, well, when did we see you? Well, didn't you see me? I was in prison. I was this old lady right here. I was this pole man right here. I was a squeegee kid. I was this. What? That was you? And here's when you know the heart is right. Remember, we're talking about covering the outside and our stankiness and our filthiness. On the inside, the sheep said, well, when did we see you? That shows you that they did righteousness from within their hearts. They didn't even know they were doing it for Yahweh Shua. And the goats didn't know they were doing it against Yahweh Shua, because they were keeping the 666 commandments. They were doing that. That's why they were there. They all came with the expectation of a good reward. You don't go to Johns Hopkins graduation expecting to graduate. You haven't spent 2 minutes in class. So these goats came in expecting to make it in, because they kept the 613, 616, however number you want to give it, commandments, and they didn't get it. Now, here's the thing that we miss, because before that parable, in the same chapter, Matthew 25, I'll try to explain it better this week. In Matthew 25, verses 14-30 is when the talents are given. You know, the 1 talent, the 5 talent, the 10 talents. And then that segues into the parable of the reality of the rams and the goats. So, what does that tell us about those talents? The one with the 1 talent, 5 talents, and 10 talents, Yahweh gives us all talents, gifts to do what? To profess His name, to further the kingdom cause. It's all about the kingdom. It's about Him. He is the kingdom, but He's not here anymore. He's up in Hashemayim preparing a place for us. So now you are representing Him. That's why He said, when you did it to those, you did it to me. Because He looks like you. Look in the mirror. If you want to know what Yahweh looks like, look in the mirror. That's what He looks like. And from my vantage point, He's 6 foot, 185, 190 pounds, brown, beautiful with locks. That's what He looks like. And He might look a little bit different to you when you brush your teeth. So right before that, what did the wicked man do with the 1 talent? He hid it in the ground. And when Yahweh Shua came back, He gave him back what Yahweh Shua gave him. He was wicked. Yahweh Shua, the first commandment given to the creation was to be fruitful and multiply. So He didn't multiply. That means He didn't want to put Himself out there, because that means if He gave the one thing He had, He wouldn't have anything left. Not realizing that even the one thing He had, Yahweh Shua gave it to Him. So why? I mean, He takes care of the ravens, the little flowers, and He can't take care of somebody after His own image? It is wickedness for people to say that they cannot help somebody, or they're going to they give some talents back to, and only use them for those so they can get something back for it. Only they can get something out of it. And that's what the goats do. They're only going to do something they can get something out of it for themselves. So in Revelation 20:11-15 is the white throne judgment. And in the white throne judgment is different than the judgment of the rams and the goats. It's different than the bema seat. Because in the bema seat narrative, the scene has other people in it. When I come to the bema seat, there's other people there. When you look at the scenario of the rams and the goats, there's other people there. There's other groups there. The bema seat is all about just getting your gifts. Yahweh says, I'm coming back and I'm bringing gifts for men. That's what he said. And then you got the sheep and the goats. There's other groups there and other peoples there. But lo and behold, when it comes to the white throne judgment, it's mano y mano. It's just Yahweh Shua and you. And we know what happens when wicked eyeballs look at perfect, pure beauty. I asked my man Chris a couple weeks ago. I said, when a brother tells another brother, hey man, this girl was dropped dead, he automatically, without planning, said gorgeous. Because the spirit knows that anything the eyeballs see that is perfectly beautiful will drop dead looking at it. Yahweh Shua is the law. And if you have any wickedness in you, if you're not covered with his righteousness, you behold his face, you will perish. You will burn up. And that's what the white throne judgment is about. And Yahweh Shua is the law. So this is why you learn here, and y'all, if you're Christians, is that the desolation that lays waste is the law. I think you want to let Yahweh Shua stay right there sitting on the mercy seat when you come up before him and receive the grace. Do not come there with your resume and laws. So what we did was we talked about relabeling this word law, because the word law really is love. You know, it's just like that, oh, I hate liberalism. Oh, I hate political liberals. Because talk about hate crime. You know, somebody knocks over a bunch of Jewish cemeteries, tombstones. Or they go to you know, African American place and you graffiti it up. It's a hate crime. Well, please somebody tell me, what is a love crime? Tell me what crime is created in love. You beat somebody over the head and rob because you love them. You rape somebody because you love them. No, all crime is hate crime. So why come with the terminology hate crime? The same thing coming with this word law. All of Yahweh's law is love. If he says blow the shofar on every full moon, it's because he loves you. Why did he tell you to blow the shofar on every full moon? I told you when I went through 54 weeks of the Torah portions. And I'm going to go into it again, explaining why we do keep the feast days and the holy days. We got that in 2 weeks, and it happens to be on Sunday. Sunday evening, Sunday sunset, but of course I'm here Sunday daytime. So we do keep it. Why? Why did we do it? Everything. If he told you don't eat scrimps, if he told you circumcise that penis, everything is out of love. It has a reason for it. So it's not about, there's no such thing. We had a brother at worship yesterday talking about the civil laws and the moral. There's nowhere in this Bible that even delineates these different laws. All of them are laws of love, and they all are to be kept. They all are to be kept. If you got a temple standing, you can't now because a temple is not standing. And so since they are supposed to be kept, another thing reason why you can't do all of them, because you're over here in Babylon, you're not in the Holy Land, and Israel is not the Holy Land. So that means you really can't keep any of them. So what it boils down to now is you got to keep the laws that he gave before Moshe. And we know that there was laws for the entire world to keep, whether you was in covenant or not covenant on Jacob, because Yahweh destroyed the first world with a flood. Yahweh is wrong and unrighteous. We're going to destroy the world by a flood, and there was no laws to keep. There was no Moshe, so what work did they do wrong? Why did you judge Sodom and Gomorrah? They didn't have no Moshe. Why did you warn Nineveh? They didn't have Moshe. Why was Cain judged? and he's thousands of years before Moshe. Why was Cain judged for his improper offering? There are eternal laws given from the first day of creation. There's always something moral and immoral. There's always something right and unright. There's always righteousness and unrighteousness. Peeshtan Tsadique. Righteous flax. What is your covering? And what are those laws that we are supposed to keep? Well, we talked about it in Deuteronomy 6:5, loving Yahweh with all your heart, might, and soul. Leviticus 19:18, love your brother. Micah 6:8, what does Yahweh require but to love and do justice and be humble? And this is all Old Testament stuff. You think it's the New Testament that says so-called do away with the law. But in the New Testament, you got Romans 13:8. It talks about loving your brother fulfills the law. 1 John 4:21. Matter of fact, I actually want to read this one because it just puts it all right there. Let's do scripture reading. 1 John 4:21. I mean, how can you get this? How can you not get it? You who want to hold somebody to 600 plus commandments, you ain't getting in. You ain't getting in. That's what the word says. Let's see what John said, who laid on Yahweh's chest, who knows that man for 3.5 years, who Yahweh himself said he loved. 1 John 4:21 in my new Bible with the bigger font so the old man can see. And let me see, I still can't see. Oh, I'm reading, and it says that you cannot love Yah unless you cannot love man unless you love Yah. It says, and this commandment we have from him. This is Yahweh saying, and this commandment we have from him, that he who loves Yahweh must love his brother also. And that's what Yahweh says. If you love Yahweh, you must love your brother also. That's what he says. Now, I'd like to know how you're going to get that wrong. Because you can't see Yahweh. You can see the man across the street needing you to mow his lawn for you because he can't do it no more. You can see him when you claim you in your house praying and singing and carrying on. The man across the street needs his lawn mowed. Remember, the sheep and the goat said, when did we see this? Yahweh said, you did see me. Oh, they couldn't mow my lawn. And you went over there and you mowed it. Get on the right. You saw it too. While you was in there keeping the feast days. And you kept on keeping them. And my grass kept getting growing. Get over there on the left. That comes from the word. That's not me. See, what y'all new brews need to do is stop reading Paul. Don't read one word from Paul. And that's over half the New Testament you call New Testament Bible. You need to read Yachanan. I guarantee you, if you read 1 John and 2 John, and even read the Gospel of John, just those 3 books, you will understand then what law means. You will understand that the word law needs to be relabeled as love. And you will understand it. Leave Paul alone because you're choking to your peril and to the peril of others who you're trying to teach. You're misteaching and misquoting with Paul. The man was a Pharisee. Taught under Gamaliel. He spoke at least 3 languages, probably 5. He went to heaven and directly saw Yahweh and was taught by Yahweh the law. He went to heaven. Yahweh took him to heaven and said, this is it. And he sent him back and then he taught it. It's too deep for you. It took me minimum 2 decades before I got it. Minimum. And I would even say even really 3 decades. And most of you not even 30 years old. Leave Paul alone. Leave him alone when they talk about the law. Read 1 John, read 2 John, and even read the Gospel of John to help you start to understand a little bit about what the law means. Why do I want to talk about flax? You know, it's a beautiful thing, that's flax. You always, I gotta say this one more thing. Talk about acts of righteousness, because flax is representing righteousness. You know somebody's righteous when they're so righteous you don't even know their name. All you know is what they did. That's when they're righteous. The Good Samaritan. What was his name? Don't know what his name was. You just know 2 things. He was a Samaritan and he was good. That's all you know. Do you think he's a sheep or a goat? He took care of a man along the road while a scribe and a Pharisee and a Levite and whatever teachers walked right on past him going to the temple. Good Samaritan. How about the woman who washed Yahweh's feet with her tears and anointed his feet with oil? Don't even know her name. All you know is that she loved Yahweh and believed in him. That's all you know. Which side you think she's moving on? How about the thief on the tree on Yahweh's right? All you know is he accepted Yahweh before his dying breath. He on a ventilator. He believed and testified to the thief on the left. Hey, what is your problem? We up here because we deserve it. Don't you know who this man is? You don't even know these people's names. But you know what they did? Do acts of righteousness. Do it if you want to be on the right. Or you can go ahead and face it. Y'all talking about y'all scared and hate the white man. You're going to face some white throne judgment and being self-righteous. And we're talking about righteousness here. Flax. You know, I'm the one that dropped on the Hebrew community about the pictographic Hebrew. And in pictographic Hebrew, this is the original physical writing of representation of Hebrew letters. And it predates what you see, all the Hebrews out there with this proto-Hebrew script. It goes in before that. Because pictographic Hebrew is just that. It uses pictures. Each letter is a picture. And that is the way it really should be, because then you cannot manipulate it. You cannot manipulate it, and also you can learn it quicker. Children, little images is the best. Anyway, I'm not going to throw it. Get a brother's book. All right, get a brother's book to learn about pictographic Hebrew. I'm the one that taught that 7 years ago. Now you see people talking about it. Before I did it, it's crickets. No one was talking about it. No one knew about it. And if you read this word flax in pictographic Hebrew, this is what the word flax means. It means speak with two edges. Signature seed. What does that mean? What is Yahweh comes out of Yahweh? What is out of Yahweh's mouth? A two-edged sword. It pierces not only flesh, not only blood, not only the marrow, but it pierces even the unseen particles of the body. That's what the word says. That's how sharp and piercing this word is that comes out of Yahweh's mouth. It pierces through everything, including the unseen. So this is what flax, this is part of what the meaning of flax, okay? And then the next word is signature. So signature is unique. Everybody's signature is unique. That means it's specific. And then it says seed. Well, we know what seed is. What is the seed of promise? Is Yahweh. So when we're talking about flax, we're talking about a person who is covered in flax. This is righteousness that pierces into the heart. It's not self-righteousness that is superficial. It pierces inside the heart, and it is unique to each individual, representing the seed of Yahweh, which is his son. Now that's deep. Now remember, in talking about the law and love, we know that we not get into the commandment to the kingdom with our resume of laws to be kept. Nevertheless, we know there are universal laws that all men are supposed to keep. This is why Yahweh was able to judge the last world and destroy it with the flood. So what this means with this flax is, when it talks about signature, there are signature things that are unique to us. Like, for instance, my wife, she likes those inshore drinks, and when she has long days, she drinks that so she won't have to go out to McDonald's or something to get something. She'd rather come home and see me with a 12th case of inshores on the counter instead of 12 roses. See, that's signature between us. That's unique between us. And your wife, she'd rather have probably 12 roses or whatever, or chocolates. So everyone has a signature way of loving. And that's what this is about, this flax. And that's what keeping the commandments is about. It's about your unique signature way, but there's also a universal way. It don't matter what husband is, he is universally wrong to having the piece on the side, then that's universally a sin. But, so we know that all men and women, we're all supposed to be faithful, but there's a signature way to love your specific spouse. So you have a general way that's inclusive for everyone, which is why Cain was judged, which is why Nineveh was going to be judged. They eventually did get judged 100 years later. And which is why Sodom and Gomorrah was judged, because there's a general way they were very unrighteous as Sodom and Gomorrah. And then there's a specific way how you are supposed to love according to the knowledge of your covenant. And this is why Yahushua says, I go to prepare a place for you. If I go again to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself. His Father's house has many mansions. That's mikdoshet. That means every last person saved, which is in numeral, we're going to have corporate worship, and then we're going to have specialized individual unique worship. There's a unique way I'm going to worship the Most High through eternity. And then we have corporate worship. It's no different than what you did yesterday or even today. You go to church or you go to the temple or go wherever you call and you worship corporately. But then on the other 6 days you have your unique personal worship. So that is what this law is, and that's what the love is, and that's what this covering is. That is unique. You're not getting your flax off the rack. It is tailored just for you. We're talking about Yahweh's righteousness covering us. It's tailored uniquely for you. It's not off the rack, one size fit all. That's what y'all like to do. Everybody's supposed to wear seats. See, that's one size fit all, and you ain't getting into the kingdom with that one size fit all. You're not getting in with external righteousness. Yet flax is an external clothing, but is representing something internal. Now there is something very special about this flax. Other than, like I told you, what the meaning is. It has the highest resonance of all the fibers. Flax and also wool. It has the highest resonance. I talked about resonance about 2 years ago, about the fibers and how they resonate with the non-material world. We'll talk about that some more. But it's planted early in spring, and it's a 5-month growing season. And this is spiritual in its own right. You look in Revelations when we talked about these plagues coming and the bowls and the judgments of the period of when that happens and the period of when it doesn't happen. You got 5 months on, 7 months off. Right now we just have 5 months of no feast days, and we're starting now in the 7th month period of having a bunch of feast days. So this mirrors that. You pull them up in September. So we come up with, this is at this time right now. And this is the time we're beginning of the next set of the 7 appointed times. So we see that flax is a type of representing the appointed times of meeting our groom. We know that a bride looks forward to marriage and with our groom. So this is one of the reasons why we do keep the appointed times. We're going to talk about that more deeply in 2 weeks. Another thing about flax, it is sewn very close together. So it is a relationship thing. It is not isolated. It is not sewn separately. The seeds are sewn separately together. So we are supposed to be together. We're supposed to be together. We're supposed to be sewn close together. It's all about relationship. So this is a relationship crop. Another thing about flax, it is pulled up by the roots. You don't cut flax. It is pulled up by the roots. And it made me immediately think about Abraham. The physical covenant began with Abraham. And what did Yahweh do? He pulled them up by the roots. He said, get away from your father, from your father's house, from your family. Get going to a place I'm going to tell you. So he packed up his stuff. He got in his car, didn't even know which way he was going to turn. He got moving across the desert without even being given a map. He was uprooted like flax. Then the next step with flax is that it has to be, after you uproot it, you have to wet it. You have to wet it. And this is the baptism. This is the baptism. And it has to be wetted 3 days. How many days did Yahweh go under the grave, stay in the grave? Do you see the righteous correlation there? 3 days of being submerged. Here's another thing I found quite interesting. When I was looking at I looked at a whole lot of footage and did a whole lot of reading about this. But it's interesting for those who are growing the flax themselves, that in order to keep the flax submerged in the water completely, they put stones on top of it. Huge stones on top. Reminded me of the 2 stones that Moshe came down with. Buried them. So the stones keep the flax submerged under the water. Keep it under there for 3 days. Just like Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. And then you resurrect your flax. And guess what now? It has to be dried. It has to be dried completely. So you put it on the rooftops if you're doing it privately. And you put it out there to be dried. There's other ways of drying it, but put it on the rooftops. I'm going to tell you why I use the rooftops, because we're going to talk about another righteous woman that we talked about last year. And it dries. What does the record says that's going to shine on Yahweh's people? The sun of righteousness. Yahweh Shua is the sun of righteousness. So your flax, after having been baptized for 3 days, now has to be placed under the sun to be dried out. Our innards have to be dried out. What are we supposed to be? A burnt offering. We are supposed to be a burnt sacrifice to the groom. So we are dried out by the groom. We are a burnt sacrifice. We are completely offering ourselves to him. This is the righteous correlation of flax to us. This is what I'm trying to get through to you here. Now comes a very difficult process. 3 difficult mechanical processes needs to be done to this flax. You first have to what they call rippling. And that's when the seeds are removed. So the flax gets beaten to remove the seeds. And then you can use the seeds, of course, for the next generation. Then the flax is, and by the way, when the flax is watered, it's called retting. And then, when it's being wetted, bacteria is removed, and it eats down the proteins, the pectins. So now, this first step of mechanical step with the flax is called breaking. So you break the flax. It's being beaten and beaten. Then the bundles are crushed. And this is called scutching. And this is when the fibers are vigorously whacked with a wooden blade. You need to see this. I wonder, how is it not breaking? How is the flax even usable? I watched a whole lot of videos, 7 different feeds. And you whack this thing with this specially made wooden blade. And you whack it. That's still not enough. Then it has to be what's called hackled. Now you know that word hackle. It has to be hackled. And hackling draws the fibers through sharp tines. T-I-N-E-S, sharp tines. What the tines look like is a bed of nails. You know what a bed of nails look like? You have a flat bed and nails sticking up on it. It's sticking through, it goes all. It has to be pulled through. That is called hackling. And then, of course, there's shorter fibers that don't make it through. Those shorter fibers still can be used, but it's a lower grade of flax. The shorter fibers are called tow, T-O-W. The longer fibers that you're going to use to do your weaving with is called line. Did anything click in your head? The lesser fibers are called tow, and they're used for lower level use of linen. Then you have the higher fiber called line. That's the high quality stuff. Does that click anything? You got toe and line. Does that click anything to you?
Toe the line.
There you go. My brother said toe the line. So if you cannot make it, if your righteousness is fake and phony, that means you can't toe the line. I did not rehearse that. This is the official terminology for processing flax. The lower grade is called toe. The high grade is called line. Yahweh Shua is the plumb line. Anything that deviates on the plumb line is called a deviant. So that means you're not righteous if you're not lying. See how this correlates? Not only that, these 3 mechanical processes mirrors the righteous people, what we go through. At 50 years of age, Abraham was told that he was going to be the man. You always say, you're going to be the man. Everything on here that you look, as far as you can see, is your land. And your seed is going to populate the earth. Wow. Who wouldn't sign up for that promise? Everybody would take that promise. Everybody would. But what happened? He had 49 years of breaking, scutching, and hackling. It didn't happen. He didn't get the land, and him and Sarah started popping out babies. He went through breaking, scutching, and hackling. 49 years. None of us would sign up for that if we saw that. At the end, yeah, you see the end picture. That's great. But in between there was relationship. And Yahweh Shua has to make us righteous. He is the potter, we're the clay. Look at Dawid. Shemuel came and anointed this 16-year-old young man. Anointed him as king. Did he go to the throne and say, Shaul, get up, I'm the man now? Here he is, 16 years old, 17 years old. Get up, I'm the king. No, he went back to his folds, back to his sheep. In between of him being anointed king and sitting on the throne as king was 17 years of breaking, scutching, and hackling. 17 years. Anybody would sign up if Yahweh came to me and say, Yehonathan, you the king. Here you are, let's go and get you anointed and you the king. I'd be like, yes, yeah. I'll take it. I'll take that. Sign me up, y'all. I got it. I'll sign the line twice. Sign it quick before you change your mind. But wait a minute. If he told me I had to go for the other 17 years that we went through, I think I would have to probably put the pen down. Because could I handle what he went through for those next 17 years? Could you handle what Eob went through for 22 years? Sitting in boils and festering and scraping his skin with pot shards. His wife telling him to curse Yahweh and die. Can you handle the breaking, the scutching, and the hackling? Yahweh Shua is going to have all enemies laid at his feet. All enemies will be made his footstool. He has the keys to heaven and earth. He overcame all the most mighty of enemies, death, Hades, and the grave. All of that. He has a name given that is above every name. And in his name, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. And in Yahweh Shua's name, there is no other name but his, given to men under heaven by which we must be saved for his name. Yet with all that greatness and goodness, which is the highest of anything anyone can be given, what did he go through first? Breaking, scutching, and hackling. See, it's not about just naming and claiming, blabbing and grabbing, which is too often what you're hearing in these churches and even in our Hebrew camps. They talk about being anointed and highly favored, and all what you got is a marker of your righteousness, and there's nothing further from the truth. What you have and what you don't have has little to do with your righteous standing with Yahweh. Little to do with that, because he makes the sun to shine and the rain to fall on the righteous and the unjust. Everybody gets sun and rain, joy and pain. So if your neighbor across the street can be the biggest homosexual, biggest hoe, he got 2 nice cars and better job. How's he got that and you claim you're righteous? That means if you being blessed is based on your stuff, that means all the billionaires in the world are righteous people. Because look what they got. Please wake up from self-righteousness and using your stuff as a measure. Stop, get out of the physicality of stuff. Leave it alone. Get away from the 613, the 666, whatever many cameras. Get away from it. Stop using your eyeballs. Your eyeballs were made for deception. Why was Eve deceived? By what she saw. But faith is increased by Shema, by hearing. That's what increases your faith, not by what you see. Because we know at the end the dome is going to deceive. Yeshua says Yahweh's going to destroy the face of the covenant that deceives the whole world. That's what Bird Box was about. That's what Nope was about. Looking up and seeing something that was going to destroy you. Not what you hear, what you see. You can see who is the most righteous. This person fasts 3 times a week. This person keeps all the laws. You can see that. But it's not about that. The ones who are righteous, the ones who are being broken and scutching and hackling. I love that word, hackled. That's the word for the final phase of making it through in righteousness. For that line is hackling. I implore you to go online and look up the processing of making flax. And then you see finally they pull those fibers through these nails. It's a bed of nails. And what finally comes through is the line. Do you see the righteous connection? Yahweh Shua is the plummet line. It's straight up and down. There's no shadow of turning in righteousness. No shadow of turning. It is perfect. Anything that moves from the line is a deviant. That's why they call it deviation. You move away from the line. So this is our study, and this is why Yahweh hates mixing. Because mixing, Yahweh wants purity. He wants a pure bride. He wants a bride that is pure, that is unmixed, that is kodesh. Now, the thing about linen, man has always known for centuries that linen has healing properties. Linen fabric has a megahertz reading of 5,000. Look that up. I taught that about 2.5 years ago. Wool also has a megahertz reading of 5,000. This is why hospitals hundreds of years ago, before they even knew about bacteria, before they had microscopes to look inside the body, they wrapped soldiers and people in the hospitals with linen straps. They used linen straps because for some reason the linen was healing the wounds and healing the bodies. So then do this centuries ago, before we even had the microscope to look into the bodies. Linen heals. This is why to this day it's hard to go ahead and buy pure linen, because the devil doesn't want you to have pure linen, because it has healing properties and it helps you to hear Ruach HaKodesh speaking to you. And wool has a 5,000 megahertz of reading also, but the fibers move in the opposite way. So you don't want to wear wool and linen together, because then you get a net of 0. They negate one another. This is why Yahweh said don't mix. Yahweh has always hated mixing, and this was one of the primary reasons why the first world was destroyed with a flood. Because of mixture, mixing with the fallen angels and all this stuff. Then what did he tell us after they came off the ark? Shem, Ham, and Yafet, don't mix. And what did they do? They mixed. That's why we have the great problems we have now. Everyone's a mutt. And it only takes Ruach HaKodesh who can discern between the two. Between the wheat and the tares. So we're not supposed to mix fibers. For all you out there who want to get into heaven with the 600 and something commandments. One of the commandments you're breaking every day is you're wearing mixed fibered clothing. This is why you need to get off the law bus and get on the love bus. Because you're already breaking the commandments. You know, I have a closet full of linen stuff and 100% cotton. I think I got a few things of wool. But it's hard to find 100%. So I can't even completely keep it. I can't do it. I try to even get the 100% underwear, all that stuff. But it's difficult to get 100% because you're going to find either the buttons or the snaps or the threading or the label even. It's going to be something else. So look that up. Look up about, even the body. The body reads, when it's healthy, reads at 110 megahertz. When you are healthy, you can get a reading done on your body. So if you're less than that, you're predisposed for getting diseases. You're predisposed for catching anything if your reading is less than 110. Now cotton is 110. So go ahead and wear 100% cotton. 100% cotton, it'll help keep you healthy. Now here's the thing. Another thing that helps is your foods. Alkaline foods help keep you above 110. Acidic foods help bring you below 110. Now I know I'm going to be eating some acidic foods today. When I get up here, watch the Raven game, I'm going to be probably eating some wings or something. Eating something that's going to is a little more acidic. I know that. Nevertheless, you want to eat healthy things that help keep your body in an alkaline state. The acidic state will get you below 110. Wearing of proper clothing will also get you above 110. And two other things that you just got to be born with. Melanin. Melanin. Melanin helps give you the resonance to Shema, to hear Ruach HaKodesh. So you're eating good food, healthy food, chlorophyll-filled food. Chlorophyll, that means vegetable-based foods and products. Eating chlorophyll food, you know all your energy comes from chlorophyll. The sun comes down, the vegetation eats the sun and the water, and it makes chlorophyll out of it. But we like to eat the animal who eats the chlorophyll. That's what our problem is. I'd rather have the steak. I let the steak eat the chlorophyll. I'll get the chlorophyll through him. But it's best really to eat like the cow, eat the grass. It's best to eat what the animals eat, really. But I like my steak. We like to eat our meat. That's fine. That's fine. But realize that an alkaline body will keep you healthy. But nothing can beat that melanin. You either got it or you ain't. And there's a lot of people who hate you because they don't have it. Because the melanin also helps you be in an alkaline state, and it helps you to hear Ruach HaKodesh. And guess what else? And your brother got it in spades. Your coiled hair. Your coiled hair is an antenna. That's why they learned that the car antennas were better when they coil it. So you get better reception on the radio. You can't even move your car unless the engine has a coiled battery. Everything has to be AC, DC. Coiledness gives you the energy. You must have a coil. Coil gives you energy for your radio, your TV, your phone, everything. You need a coil. And they had to learn that. They probably learned it from experimenting on the slaves. Because your coiled hair, your nappy, knotty hair helps you to hear the Ruach HaKodesh. Your melanin skin, your coiled hair, eating a chlorophyll diet, wearing linen or wool or cotton 100%, and you walk out your door Superman, Superwoman. Ain't nobody better than you. You the best thing walking, and you cannot be diseased. This is we're talking about is the righteousness of Flax, Peeshtan Tsadique. Now, you want to add even to that? I see if my time's running out, I won't have to get on this. How about add to that is the righteousness of having smells, having holy oils, having good smell senses. Yahweh loves smells. And it is the only sense that was not used in the fall in the garden. Mother Hawa used her eyes, her ears, her mouth, and touch to sin. She did not use the sense of smell. And this is one of the reasons why Yahweh separated the smell has an important role in righteousness. It had an important role in the temple, it had an important role in the embalming and resurrection of Yahweh Shua, and in the wave sheep offering, when he waved himself as a wave offering after the resurrection, is the sense of smell. So smells are important. When Aharon was being challenged, Yahweh had everybody bring out their senses for smell to say who he chose. He chose Aharon, and he used the sensor of smell to delineate righteousness and wickedness. So that's another thing that can help you in understanding the Ruach HaKodesh. And then music. Kodesh music. Music with the instruments of ancient days. Of the string, the lute, the harp, the flute. Okay, the harp. These type of things from the ancient, the Hebrews music. So these are the things I tell you now. You wonder why a brother knows what he knows. It's because of these types of things. First of all, you have to love Yahweh. You know that's the foundation. But then, you're born with melanin, beautiful. You're born with locks, beautiful. But also, your milieu, your mikdash, your worship place you should be clean. It should have the proper smell, the proper sounds, and you need to have the proper attire on to put yourself in position to hear what Ruach HaKodesh has to say to you. Specifically, and then generally. And then you get a Tsadique brother like me on this mic teaching things that you haven't heard anywhere else. Righteous Flax. But what did Achan do? Achan, who was from the tribe of Judah, whose name means troubler. What did he do before we went to the Holy Land? He went in the land of and took the Babylonian clothing and hid it in the earth to wear later. That was the righteousness he wanted. Clothing made out of silk, which, guess what? Look it up and I tell you, has zero resonance. Polyester has 10. And I know we like to wear polyester. Polyester has a resonance of 10. You wearing a whole lot of polyester is putting you in a position of being sick, acidic. So we're going to the game today, watch the game, wearing a bunch of polyester clothes and eating a bunch of garbage food. We're putting ourselves in an acidic state. So Achan stealing these Babylonian clothing with unrighteousness, and juxtapose that against Rahab, who is the harlot. She's called Rahab the harlot. Now, would you like to be your title? I want to be called, Jonathan the occupational therapist. You don't want to be called a name and then have the title harlot attached to you, but that's what she was. So, what is so righteous about Rahab? We talked about Rahab, but I got to bring her up again when we talk about this linen, because Rahab, we didn't help you realize it now. What did she have on her roof when she received the spies? What did she hide those spies under? A bed of flax. So here's Rahab, the harlot, who we found out was this not no ordinary harlot. This woman took care of her family, and that is unusual, but this makes it even more unusual. She had a father. Now, what kind of a family with a father has a daughter take care of the whole family? And how does she take care of the family and keep them fed and covered? Lying on her back. Now, you're talking one of the most righteous women in the history of the earth. Her name means bluster. It means, like proud. But guess what? You think that's a bad thing? No. This was a righteous pride. Here's a woman. The whole Eastern world knew that the Hebrews were coming. For 40 years they were fear and trembling that someday they were going to wake up. They know about the story of coming through the Red Sea. They know what happened in Egypt, how Egypt was decimated. They know all the miracles. And now here comes the Hebrews marching with Yahushua, bringing them in, and and they were in fear. They were in abject fear, and they had the whole place shut down. So they all knew about it. And Rahab, who thought highly of herself in a righteous manner, says, "You know what? Those people are the chosen people. We need to be like them." And she received the 2 spies, and it saved not only her life, but her whole household. This whore saved the family. Who did she marry? Salmon. Salmon's name means covering. What was that flax up there? That flax was in promise and hope of her making her wedding garment out of. And she married Salmon, and who came through that lineage? Through Boaz and then David. Who came through this lineage? Yahushua. You and my salvation. The Messiah himself came through this lineage. The Messiah, Yahushua, came through her lineage. Who would have thought that? Us, me included. If I was there, boots on the ground at that time, I would say, this is an unrighteous woman. That's what I would have thought. That's what anybody would have thought. But she indeed was a righteous woman who had Ruach HaKodesh, who had foresight. She was a prophetess. She had flax on her roof. It was in the process of drying. Remember we talked about the process of flax. Drying by what? The Son of Righteousness. This woman was able to hear the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, and she knew that there was something more special about her than just being a hoe. And it was. And she married a Hebrew, a righteous Hebrew, that ended up eventually birthing the Messiah that saved our lives, who was buried in the ground 3 days and rose back up. That's Rahab, and that's righteousness. Now I know my time's running out. I'm not going to have time to read. I want to read Luke 7:36 through 50. I'm just going to paraphrase it. Yahweh was in the Pharisee's house, and he's saying, man, and this woman, who with a righteous act, cried at his feet, bathed Yahweh's feet with her tears, and anointed his feet with oil, and she was that's another whore. See, another whore. Y'all want to go put down the whore. She used all a whole year's earnings to buy oil to pour on his feet. And we don't know her name. Guess what she is? She's on the right hand of Yahweh. And Yahweh says, he who has been forgiven much loves much. That's why she's doing this. I'm going to have to read this next week. Luke 7:36 to 50. Read it, and your heart will just touch. Hear this. All the righteous people look down on her. The Pharisees, he said, man, he don't know who this woman is. Yes, he did know who she was. He also knew who you were. An unrighteous man, an unrighteous Pharisee. Revelation 22:17, I know my time's running out, talks about the spirit of the bride says come. Talking about righteousness. See, the bride, like Rahab, looks forward to the groom coming. She has appointed times. She's looking for him. She's readying herself. She's getting her dress together. She's got the bridesmaids, and she's doing all manner of things to get ready for the coming of the groom, and she's preparing something. That's what we're supposed to be doing today. We say we love him. That's what we say. You say it out of your mouth. You love him. What are you doing to prepare? What are you doing? What did you do this day to get ready? What are you doing to get ready for the groom to come? Because he is coming. He is coming. He is coming. And he says in 22:17, the bride and the spirit says come. Be ready. Be ready to come. Are you going to accept the dangling of the 666 commandments? Are you going to accept that? Is that what you're waiting for? Next week, I'm probably going to have to finish up with this, but we want to talk about those who live on the earth. That's what we're going to talk about and tying in with this message. Until next week, Shalom Aleichem, peace be on you.